So part of our goal here is Chris and I want you to start getting into the headspace of starting to think like a scientist. So we got text, graphics, or a combination of the two. Chris, does that sound familiar at all? Perhaps like maybe we just talked about text, graphics, or a combination of the two? One could even probably lump studies of otter populations into science as well. There, yeah, yeah. Life science, particularly there. Um, but we're going to see life science, physical science, Earth, space science here, and each question that we have here is going to test your scientific reasoning. But some really basic scientific content knowledge, but we're not talking about anything really like super in depth here. We're just the basics. This. So when we talk about scientific models here, they are used to describe objects, phenomenons, or processes. Here. Scientific models might be visual, material, mathematical. Here, they're generally not focusing so much on the unimportant details there, just the key ideas, highlighting relative characteristics. But this is a lot of even like the math we do here really had a lot of scientific science in mind here because that whole I know I could probably like say this bad word here mentioning the field of calculus, which probably a lot of you are probably like, oh, I never want to study that here. But guess where calculus came from? It was to try to describe physics there. And so a lot of what we see here, kind of the math we see came out of this idea to try to describe natural phenomenon. We'll see scientific theories brought up on this section here. And it is scientific theories are continually supported by observations, experiments, and facts here. The thing that we want to think about when we talk about theories is when something is put into this category of being a theory here. So think of like the Big Bang Theory, not the old sitcom, but the actual theory of the universe starting in from a small point and expanding out there. Um, that is not just an idea that somebody dreamed up someday. It's not proven here, but there's also been lots of evidence collected over the time to support it here. So it's not a law. We don't say that it's a scientific law here, but it is a theory that is supported by lots of evidence here. Theories, of course, are revised over time as you receive new evidence here. So something that Chris and I want you all to keep in mind here, because this will apply for kind of when you think about scientific reasoning, like, okay, what can I do next here? Is that science itself is always evolving there. It's only as good as the information you currently have, so you just keep getting more information, keep refining what we understand with it. And so while again, we're not dealing about like in-depth scientific knowledge here, we do want you as part of this idea of starting to think like a scientist to think about the general scientific method here. And when we talk about the scientific method here, it's a process of designing experiments, analyzing it, and continuing the cycle of research here. So I always like when I do this, when I've done this in some other classes here, I love to do little examples with this. So let's think about I had this scenario here. I know this is going to be funny talking about this when it's the dead of winter and there's literally a foot and a half of snow over my garden in the backyard here. But if I say I observe a phenomenon is like, I'm not getting as many tomatoes as I would like there. So I'm observing a phenomenon there. It's like, oh, I would like to get more tomatoes here. And let's form a hypothesis here. So, any ideas when we think about this? Like, okay, what might I want to test here? What might help me, my tomato plant, to grow more tomatoes? Okay. Yeah, different amounts of water there. Yeah, well, not playing weather god here. We'll say I'm kind of confined to Pittsburgh here. That that's actually really important though to keep in mind though, Mary. I'm not making light of that. That is that like there's certain things that we can control and are out of our control, and that's definitely something to consider when we're thinking about experiments here. But yeah, let's say I'm going to test amounts of water. Yes, the sun is definitely something we could do as well here. And so if we're going to conduct an experiment here, maybe what I would say is like, well, let's do four plants and give them different amounts of water. And I am when we do that, we're not going to change anything else about the four plants here. Everything else is going to be the same soil, same sun, and whatnot. We're only going to change the amount of water, so we know exactly how that's affecting the plant here. And then I would just kind of collect data, or in this case, collect tomatoes from the plants there. My data is how many tomatoes do I have in my hand here? Um, and then from that, we can say like, more water helps, for instance, or something like that, depending on what the data told us here. This. Yeah, it is. I put ease in it. Um, but if we think about this, oh, did I? Oh, thank you. There was a different typo. I see. I see. Yeah, we're not immune to typos here. Thank you. Thank you. Um, so here we make this conclusion that uh maters. Love it. Like taters. Um uh so okay, we've checked water here, but if we want to think about like, okay, what might I be able to do now here? Next steps, say like, okay, well, we know that water, released from the particular experiments we ran, we found a good amount here. But let's say maybe we check sun or soil content and stuff like that as well. So you notice here, what we're doing here is just we're testing something, we're picking something to test, making a theory. More water is going to be beneficial. We're testing. We observed, like, did this happen? Okay, it did. Let's get some more data to really optimize things. This. So I did see that here. I was trying to like delay my laugh just a little bit there. Meter Sammy's sandwiches. Okay. By the way, a grilled cheese with thick slices of tomato is one of my absolute favorite things to have in the summer there. Um, So this is what we want to, when the scientific process here, that's really what we want to get you in the mindset of thinking, like, are you going to be asked to specifically design experiments? No, but we want, being able to understand that general process is definitely helping with being able to interpret the questions here. Yes. So a lot of times, what we're dealing with science are scientific phenomena. In other words, it's something that you observe here with this. So, like, I observed a lot of snow. How do we explain that here? Or we can think about other things like, ooh, the auroras. Anybody here been lucky enough to see those? That's definitely not me. I'm not going to raise my hand. I would love to see those at some point there. But yeah, we need to, that's something, it's observed. It's definitely happening. There's no denying. I mean, I've seen pictures of them, but what causes them there? This is something where science works towards explaining that. And I used to actually know why, and I totally forget. It's something to do like further up in the atmosphere there, or even like gravity. Newton with the apple there. Uh, that's something that's observed. Objects attract each other. The Earth, the big object below us, attracts us. If I were to uh, step down a step there, I'm going to move downward. Gravity's going to take me there. We did, but Chris will be more than happy to share that again. Or even lake effect snow. I lived in Chicago for 11 years, so I know about this. Here. So when we talk about the hypothesis, this is where we're making the guess. It's an educated guess. It hasn't been tested yet. So it's not, it's a guess here, but it's what we're deciding to test this. Um, for the passages you will see, expect to see the hypothesis written at the beginning for like a main idea of a paragraph there. It's really kind of like, we're testing this. This is why we are doing this whole thing here. If those results don't match the hypothesis, well, that hypothesis is probably not working the way it is. But that's okay. That's what a lot of science is discovering what doesn't work, and then you go back and try other things there. Oh, yeah, no, that you can leave that to Copernicus there. No, we don't have to do those like really in-depth things. No experiment parts of this or anything like that.